Sorry, just a second. I'm just getting my other thing up here. So, there we go. Today, I'm going to be talking a little bit about a topic that many people who study British history have always found rather interesting, especially the time period just after, I guess you could say, the fall of the Roman power in Britain. And that is of the wizard that is named Merlin. The first time that I came across the name Merlin, I was actually watching a Disney cartoon called The Sword and the Stone. And when I watched this, of course, I got rather interesting depiction of King Arthur and how he came to be and how he became the king. And of course, the way they portray King Arthur, I think, is a little bit on the weird side about him pulling the sword from the stone and him being some scrawny little stable boy or servant, but he was really the son of someone who was important. But it kind of works in its way because it's designed for children to be watching it. And of course, what happens is Merlin, he is someone who is going around, he's helping Arthur, he's being an advisor and he's being a tutor and everything. That is the depiction that a lot of the people have who hear about the name Merlin. We, of course, need to consider that just because Disney writes something, that doesn't mean that that's originally what the actual story is about King Arthur. If you look at Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Merlin makes no appearance whatsoever. Well, there is someone named Tim the Sorcerer, so maybe that's the depiction of Merlin. But Tim the Sorcerer is really just a strange little thing that got thrown in there. But as we look into Merlin and some of the sources, there are some rather interesting ideas that come up, and not all of them actually agree with each other. There is a video that I posted here on another feed. Well, let's just say that I posted a video off of YouTube onto my Facebook page with a bit of a description about my understanding of what Merlin is, who Merlin was. And of course, a couple really interesting ideas come to mind and come forward. In that particular video, where the way they depict Merlin is that he was some wild man who was out running around in the woods, and he was said to either scare people who were in the woods, or he would be able to go and give people advice who need help with something. Another idea about Merlin has to do with King Vortigern. I think I mentioned King Vortigern at another time. King Vortigern is seen as a king who took power in Britain after the Romans pulled out. Vortigern supposedly ruled over the entire area of Britain that was once ruled by the Romans. The idea of Vortigern, of course, is kind of ambiguous. In a, let's see, what's his name? In the account given by Gildas, who is one of our oldest sources as it relates to the destruction of Roman Britain, Gildas mentions a person. He identifies the person as a proud tyrant. That's what the word was. Superbus, tyrannus, superbus. Whenever I go and I look at some of the translations of what Gildas has written, a lot of times they do throw the name. Sorry, my mind just slipped, but sometimes they do throw that name Vortigern in there, and he is of course, seen as the person who rules over that entire area of Britain. One of the stories about Vortigern mentions that he had gone to the mountain of Snowdon, which is up in the northwestern regions of Wales. I've actually been to this mountain. It's a rather interesting place, and the northern parts of Snowdon are often covered in fog, and so it gives it even more a mysterious depiction. Vortigern wanted to go build his castle or his tower up here on the top of Snowdon. There's an earthquake that kept happening that knocked down this particular tower every time he tried to build it. So he consulted with some of his soothsayers to find out what the heck was going on. What the soothsayers did is they told him that he needs to go and find a fatherless child, and then when they sacrifice this fatherless child, he will be able to build his tower there on the top of Snowdon. So they search far and wide, and they come across a very young child. They come across a young child. I think a teenager is how they describe him. And this is Merlin. When he asks what they're doing, they tell him that they're going to sacrifice him in order to build this tower that keeps getting knocked over. And what Merlin says to him is that killing me is not going to make it so that you can build your tower. What's going on is deep inside of the Mount Snowdon, there are two dragons who are battling it out, and only by releasing them are they going to be able to build anything there. So a little bit surprised, they decide to dig down into this mountain to find out if Merlin is telling the truth. Just so happens there's a red dragon and a white dragon who are fighting it out in there. They fly out of the mountain and they battle it out before they fly off together, continuously fighting. The king, Vortigern, asks, what does this mean? Merlin says, this is a depiction of what is going to be happening in the future. The red dragon represents the British, the Celtic people that Vortigern is the ruler over.